Definitely had the skeptics, the people that like, oh, how could you, do what you're doing and leave everything that you know. And
he successfully extracted nearly 20K in profit from Blue Guardian.
It took time. It took a lot of time and a lot of banging my head against the wall.
What did trading this way do for you in terms of freeing up your time?
I went from a 60-hour work week to, if I'm being honest, a long day for me trading is 2 hours.
What's going on, everybody? So we often hear statistics about 99% of traders who failed at trading. But today we're sitting down with the 1%. My guest today, he's passed his challenge. And not only has he passed his challenge, but he's mastered the art of the payout as well. He's successfully extracted nearly 20K in profit from Blue Guardian as a prop firm. And he's been navigating all of the rigorous standards that we have here at Blue Guardian as well. And in an industry where one bad day could cost you your entire account, he's built a systematic approach for consistency, risk management, and psychological endurance. So we're going to find out exactly how he plays the game and how he handles the pressure of Blue Guardian evaluations and trading live accounts. We're also going to find out how he trades and handles drawdowns and what it really takes to turn a prop account into a serious income stream. So let's get into it. Welcome, Jonathan. Thanks for chatting with us today, man. So making 20K in payouts puts you kind of like in the elite tier of retail traders. But before the payouts, there's usually like a struggle period, right? What was the situation in your normal life, your old job or career that annoyed you so much that it became the fuel that you needed to grind through the learning curve? What was the I have to make this work moment for you?
I trade full time now, and before trading full time, I was a driver for UPS, United Parcel Service. And the biggest thing that drove me to learning trading and sticking with it and figuring it out was I wanted more time. I was working 60 hours a week. I made very good money and I had a very good job, but I didn't have time with my family. From sun up till sundown, I was out delivering packages, and I didn't want to spend 40 years of my life building a career there when I felt like there was more. I felt like, there's something else I could be doing. And then my coworker at the time introduced me to foreign exchange trading, and ever since then I just kind of grabbed it and took off. And it's definitely been a process, but just the promise of I can have the freedom to make really good money on my own terms, on my own schedule, and kind of take control of my life back. That's what really drove me to pursuing trading as a full-time career.
Awesome. And you said that basically the biggest element that attracted you to it was just the freedom of time, right? And what did trading this way do for you in terms of freeing up your time?
I went from a 60-hour work week to, if I'm being honest, a long day for me trading is 2 hours. And it's freed up a lot of time for me to be with my kids. I recently just had a little girl, number 5. She's 5 months old now, and to get to be here and be a part of all the little moments of her growing up, and I'm gonna be here for her first words and all that means the world to me.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. Honestly, trading gives you a lot of freedom to do all of this stuff, but it is really difficult, especially coming from a career where when you were working 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week. How was that transition from working 60 to 80 hours a week to now, sometimes only trading 2 hours a day? And did you find yourself having a problem with only trading 2 hours a day and then walking away?
Early on, yes, I had a very, very big problem with being okay with what I made for the day. I never had a problem generating profit. I had a problem keeping my profit. So I was the overly optimistic trader. I was the trader that, hey, I'm gonna make $50,000 every day I open, my account to trade for the day. And I learned the hard way. Just doesn't work like that, at least not in my experience. And the way I approach the market, I found out that my performance and my consistency actually soared with the less that I would attempt to do. So the more I could accomplish doing a little, the more consistency I found, and the easier it became for me to just say, hey, you know, I might only took one trade for the day, but I made my goal, so I'm just going to enjoy the rest of my day. I'll come back to my scheduled time tomorrow morning, and you know, we'll see what the market's giving us then, and we'll try to find a good opportunity. But early on, I struggled a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive. Like, it's the more you fight against it, the more you try to work hard, and the more trades you try to take, the less profit you seem to make, right? It's usually those trades that fit your plan, and then you just get into those high probability trades that you can identify right away, versus the ones that you try to force or you try to create out of nowhere. And I think a lot of the reason that people end up doing this is because they just sit on the charts way too much, and way more than they need to be. They start to see things there that they shouldn't, and a lot of that is down to FOMO, because people are just scared of missing a trade, and they're scared, especially after they've lost a trade, that they miss the next one that's going to put them back in the green. Have you experienced this kind of thing in your trading, and how did you kind of combat FOMO, greed, and kind of try to make sure that you don't revenge trade your way into blowing accounts?
I had to learn the hard way. It took time. It took a lot of time and a lot of banging my head against the wall, metaphorically speaking. I kept trying to trade my way out of it. I grew up being an athlete, and you know, in sports you always hit slumps, but the way they tell you to go about getting out of the slump, that's not what was gonna work for me with trading. So I was taking that approach a lot, where like in basketball they say shoot or shoot. You know, if you miss a shot, you take another one, you take the next one. You know, it's in your mind and it's gone. And I attempted to do that with trading, but then I found out the hard way that, nah, this is something I really need to be patient with. What helped me get over FOMO was realizing that there's always going to be another trade. There's always going to be another opportunity. I'm always going to have another chance to, even if I lose money, make money later. I struggled with it really bad early on, and I would find myself, you know, 5-10 minutes after I take a loss, I'm right back in. Same direction. I haven't looked to see, you know, did I miss an indicator? Was there an area that we were targeting before what I thought was going to happen happens? Or did I just miss something on a higher time frame? Now, whenever I lose a trade, I'll take a step back and I'll really say, okay, you know, where did I go wrong? What was it that I missed? And what's really going on? You know, where do my higher time frames want to go? Rather than just, oh my God, I got to make money. I found out, you know, when you can really make it boring, that's when you'll find the consistency. When you can take the emotion out of it, and you know, you can make it not be this roller coaster. You can make it to where it's I show up, I look for what I look for, I get in and I get out. That really kind of got FOMO to die down to me, because I found out, like, you know, I can do it. I don't have to be active 24 hours a day, because I used to take 35 trades in a day. I used to look at the chart from market open to market close all day. And again, I found out, you know, the less that I can do and be productive, the more consistent I can be.
Right. And
so that really got rid of all the need to be like, oh, I need to look at the chart. I need to be. There's going to be an opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things to deal with, and a lot of the emotions that you go through as a trader are some of the most difficult emotions to deal with, because it's so intense and it's so real, especially when it has to do with money. Can you like walk me through the exact emotions of your first major drawdown period? Like, did the money hitting your bank account change how you trade the next day? So if you manage to get, for example, to your place of passing an evaluation, and then you've now put yourself into a drawdown, how do you deal with that kind of emotion? Because that's something that I've gone through, and I think a lot of people watching this have gone through. How do you manage to navigate that?
I distract myself. I learned you just have to let it go. And, nobody like I've had days where, I lose $3,000 and those days aren't fun, but they happen. And the best thing I can do is not take a bad day and make it worse. I can always trade tomorrow. I can always trade the day after that. There's always going to be another trade where I can perform better. But when I'm beginning to go into a slump or I'm losing trades, the last thing I want to do is try to put gas on the pedal. I want to take a step back. I'll probably reduce my lot size. I'll try to figure out what it is that I'm doing wrong, so that way I can start to consistency move back into a winning direction. And then I'll go back to my regular lot size, my regular risk, and approach the market with a little bit more confidence. But I found the best thing I can do whenever I'm losing is take a step back. Just let it breathe. I'm going to get it back, but I got to identify what I'm doing wrong.
I think that's one of the biggest things is people tend to, when they're in drawdown, start to increase their risk to just either get out of drawdown or just totally destroy the account. And that's pretty much how I would say majority of traders end up blowing up accounts. Just because of impatience. I think they're just not patient enough to see the account through. They would rather just blow it up rather than deal with the drawdown. Like they want to quickly get out of it, get out of the mess they've made, I guess. And that's, I guess, is the whole FOMO element of it as well. In your case as well, I mean, you worked really hard to get to a point where you were profitable. What was the reactions like around you, like in your family? You've got kids and stuff like that, and the people around you, how did they deal with you starting to trade full time?
It was mixed emotions, definitely. My wife, she was on board. She saw, what trading has been able to do for us in the past and what it was capable of, and there was a little bit of anxiety leaving the security of my job, but ultimately, like my wife, my parents, they supported my decision. I definitely had the skeptics, the people that like, oh, how could you, do what you're doing and leave everything that you known? And it's I got to a point where I believe in my system, and I've been around for 5 years, active in the market. Every day for the past 5 years, somehow, whether it's just marking up a chart, back testing, just making sure I'm involved, trying to get better. And I got to a point in my life where ultimately, I felt like God was calling me, like, it's your time. Now is your time to step into this. You're ready. You've gone through the highs and lows. Now you just got to show up and do your job, man. Which that's what trading is for me now. It's just a job. I wake up, I trade, I go about my day.
Awesome, man. Obviously, like the journey to getting there, for most traders that I interview is always generally at least 2 to 3 years, and it's usually quite difficult. It usually tests you a lot. Like it's usually one of the most difficult journeys that you've gone through, either in personal development or in your life even. But for most traders, there's a point where they've tried this strategy, this strategy, this strategy. They started to see some progress, but maybe then they hit a slump again. What was the point for you that you started to inflect and change course to becoming profitable? Did you find a different way of trading, or did you make an existing way of trading start working for you?
It was more of the latter. About 2 years into my journey, I got a mentor. Her name was Dr. Lauren Hill. Great mentor. She helped put so much together for me in terms of how to analyze, how to see, what's going where, how to prepare for consolidation. And she really helped me put together how to analyze the market. About 3-4 years into my journey, I hit a point where it was more of my mentality than it was how I was looking at the market. It wasn't my ability to produce a profit. It was everything else I was doing that would take the profit I'm making away. And now it's, I got to make back loss, or I got to do this. And that made me realize that I personally, this is my personal belief, there's two sides to trading. You have to first learn how to make a profit, but then you have to learn how to manage an account. Those are two different things. Where one is entirely skill based. It's can you read a chart or can you not read a chart? And the other one is entirely mental. You know, what's your risk to reward? What do you do when you lose? What do you do when you know, you have a good day? What do you do when you have a bad day? What time are you waking up and trading every day? And once I started to dial that side in, that's when it was like, okay, I can pass evaluations, I can make money, I can get to withdrawals. And then I would say the past year and a half of my trading journey has just been getting to a point where I understand the account management side of things. Like, I have my plan, I know what I'm going for, I know if I lose this much, I'm walking away, I know if I make this much, I'm walking away. And just sticking to that.
Yeah, I think so many people just don't have a plan. Like they just want to do things by intuition, and then you end up just getting emotional about all the decisions you have to make, because trading, whether it be about your account management or about getting into trades at all, it's all about decision making. And if you don't have a plan, then you end up just making decisions on the fly. And generally those are going to be bad decisions because you're going to be under pressure. Because trading is high pressure. How do you manage to deal with pressure in your trading, and how do you manage to stay level-headed even when you feel like you know, this next trade could be the big one?
I tried to take that out of my day-to-day trading. So in the past I did, you know, like what I make today is what I make. And I've had days where I've made like $20,000 on trades, and, you know, I've made some really big trades, but, you know, I would turn right around and lose it. And my big thing was, you know, if I want to have an income off of this, I need to be focused on consistency. So I found the range that is very doable for me, around 0.5 to 1% a day. And that's what I go for. And if I fall in that range at any point in time, I'll just stop. It's like, okay, there's no need to go for more. Cause I've had days where, you know, I blow it up and I make, you know, all the money in the world. But then at the same time, you know, I've had days where I make a great profit, but then I turn around and lose it because I'm still trading. And then I find myself asking the question, why did you even need to trade today? Like, you already made so much. Why can't you be happy with that? And early on, I used to hear this all the time. You know, if you walked past a certain amount of money on the ground and you wouldn't leave it there, why would you risk the profit you've made in your account? And kind of treat it the same way. Like, you know, even if it's $100, like if you wouldn't walk past a $100 bill on the ground and you don't feel good about your trade and you have a floating position that's $100 in profit, just go ahead and close it. I mean, there'll be another opportunity. You'll have another chance to be more level-headed about your trade, and you feel better about it. And I have those moments where even now, like, I have a trade where I take it and I don't feel good about it, and, you know, my mindset will shift to don't lose money. Like, if I can break even, if I can make take a small loss, or if I can just make, you know, $200, $300, I'm happy with that. Because I'd rather wait for the opportunity I'm gonna feel really good about, that it's like, hey, I'm gonna put my alerts here, I'm gonna set my phone down, I'm gonna let it breathe, and I'm not gonna have to be stressed to the moon about, you know, what's happening with this trade. Because when I do face that, my decision making, it just drastically decreases in efficiency. And I would rather just not be a part of the market when I feel like my mind is bouncing all over the place. Or even if I have like outside things going on in my life that kind of have me in a place of, I feel anxious or my mind's all over the place, I find it best to just like, hey, just don't trade. Because when I do trade, it tends to make it worse.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're feeling off balance, like getting into trades when you're not thinking straight is probably one of the worst things you can do. I wanted to ask, like, what's your process around getting into a trade? Like, you say, you know, let's say you sit down at your desk to trade. What's your process of analyzing and getting into a trade? What does that look like?
So I'm a very big believer in market geometry. I have support, resistance, and trend levels marked, and a big believer in Fibonacci. And once I have my chart drawn up, I'm only getting in a trade if we have already experienced a rejection, but we're close enough to where I can put my SL outside of the zone, so below that trend line or that support, that resistance, or that fib level. And then I'll put my TP typically at the next fib level or within the existing zone we're already bouncing through, because I'd rather have a realistic, like, I can get out, I've made my money, versus, like, I got my TP 2 zones up from where we're at, but if we don't go 2 zones up, we go 1 zone up and turn around, and now I'm out of luck, and a lot of money I could have made for the day ended up turning into a loss. So I try to be very realistic and I'm always thinking about there's going to be another trade after this one, and I need to be prepared for that one.
I think that's the main thing. It's so difficult to, again, like, make these high pressure decisions, but if you have like a plan before you get in and you're not just trying to make these decisions off the cuff, it helps so much. In terms of your strategy, how would you describe kind of like the framework that you get into trades with? Are the rules really like hard rules, or do you use some discretion when getting into trades?
There's definitely some discretion, just because every day is different. You're not going to get the perfect setup every day, or you might not ever see the perfect setup. So I look for things that are relatively close to these key areas. I really look for, can I put my SL in what I would consider a safe area? Like, is the market going to have to work? Are we going to have to come above a ceiling or below a floor to get me? And I find, like, when I'm looking for those type of entries, and I'm looking for the entry where have a higher probability of seeing some profit than no profit, that's where I'm going to find my consistent wins. Like, okay, now I'm getting on a streak here. I got like 9 or 10 trades that I've won in a row, just because I really dial in on, if we're not in these areas, I don't want anything to do with it.
You mentioned that account management was one of the biggest things that helped you, see profitability. How do you manage an account, say, if we're looking at passing an evaluation versus managing an account that you've already passed and you're now aiming to get a payout? How do you go about those two different scenarios?
I do feel like, because the rules are also different while you're being evaluated, that it is okay to be a little bit more aggressive with your evaluation, but when you're funded, I think being very conservative is just the way to go. And I know that can be very hard to do. I've definitely been there where I've got funded and I killed my evaluation, and I'm thinking, I'm about to make all the money in the world, and now I'm trying to rush to that first payout, and the first thing I do is turn around and blow the account in 2 days. And the real thing that changed that for me was just, hey, we're just going for this today. There's going to be tomorrow. There's going to be this. And the rules actually helped me become a better trader. Like, the more I tried to fall within the guidelines of the rules, the better I found my trading becoming, and the more consistent I became. I've had streaks where, I'm winning like 85% of my trades for the week. And I credit that a lot to the rules helped me really start to manage my account better. And instead of being all over the place, I really tightened up. Like, if this happens, this is what we do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if this happens, this is what I do. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Exactly. I think, like, it's just having the plan and knowing exactly what to do next if the situation arises. But you've successfully proven that you can consistently extract like a good amount of profit. I mean, you've done almost 20,000 in profit just with Blue Guardian. But passing the evaluation is one thing, and consistently securing a payout requires a different kind of discipline. So if you could sit down with an aspiring prop firm trader that's failed a few challenges, what is the single most critical non-technical piece of advice that you would give them about protecting their capital and then adapting their psychology to ensure that they get that first, life-changing payout?
I would say, take a look at your trade history, because that'll tell you a lot about what you're doing wrong. That'll tell you, is this an account management issue, or, is this a ability to produce profit issue? And then the biggest thing I could say is you got to start looking at it in terms of percentages. And you also have to be realistic about the percentages that you're going for. Because that's how, at the end of the day, we measure investments is, how much percentage did you get of growth, or how much percentage of loss did you get? We don't talk about dollar amounts, we talk about percentages. So if you really want to start dialing in on how you're going to manage your portfolio or your accounts, you really need to look at, what percentage of risk am I taking on a daily basis? What percentage of reward am I going for on a daily basis or weekly basis, whatever time frame you operate off of? And really stick to whatever plan you find fits your circumstance, because this is an individual sport. There's 1,001 ways to do it. The way that I do it might not be the way that you should do it. It just might not work for you like it works for me. So I would say, take a good look at just what you're going for and how realistic are you being with those numbers. And if you need to bring them down, you bring them down. If you need to lower a lot size, you lower a lot size. That's it seems counterproductive, like you said earlier, but this is about longevity. The longer you can stay in the game, the better you are ultimately. It's not about how much money you can produce. I mean, you can get lucky on one trade and you can make $50,000. You just be in the right place, right time, right lot size. But longevity is where you find out, who's really good in this space versus, who just happened to be in the right area at the right time.
Yeah, it's 100% that. It's also treating trading more as a profession, like being a professional about it, rather than trying to treat the market like a roulette wheel or like a blackjack table, because a lot of people are just coming into it trying to flip their money in from a small account fee into thousands of dollars, and they're trying to do it quick, whereas prop firms kind of give you that platform to start thinking about trading differently. Like you said, thinking in percentages is one of the biggest things you can do, because that's when you stop looking at dollar amounts and treating it more like a casino, like you're gambling. And now you're starting to look at it more like a professional trader. And I think that's why prop firms are so valuable, because they, for example, with my trading, allowed me to make the mindset shift of gambling to being a bit more professional, having rules and risking a particular amount every time I take a trade, and knowing the risk before I get into a trade. But the industry is difficult. It's really difficult to find what works for you really well. And there's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there. There's a lot of people selling nonsense. There's a lot of people out there just trying to steal your money and market through lifestyle and that kind of stuff. So new people that are getting into trading, it's more difficult than ever for them to find a path that works for them. How, if you were starting today, would you go about trying to learn trading and actually make momentum towards becoming profitable without getting caught in any of that nonsense?
I would operate in demo accounts way more. If I could go back 5 years and tell myself starting day one, like the best thing you could do for yourself, if there is something you need to work out, do it in a demo account. They're free, they cost you no money, you're operating in the same exact environment, you just don't have the mental pressure of, oh, this is withdrawable, this is this, but that's a good thing. That allows you to be objective about, is it my system? Is it my account management? What can I do to identify the problem? And you can identify the problem at no cost to yourself whatsoever. So just really take advantage of the demo accounts that are available in the space. And, don't be afraid to take a step back if it's going to give you 5 steps forward. I agree with you 100%. The rules only made me way more professional about trading and made me treat it like it's a job. I have to show up, I have to do these things, and I have to perform. And Blue Guardian has 100% made me a way better trader than I used to be.
Exactly. Well, Jonathan, I really appreciate you chatting with us today. I think everybody watching learned a lot from this conversation and from your experiences. It's really inspiring for a lot of people to see traders who have managed to become profitable after struggling for so long, because a lot of people are in that struggle period right now. So thanks very much for chatting with us today, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Awesome, man. So everybody watching at home, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next trader interview. Cheers, everyone.